Greetings. I had a whole different video that I was going to shoot today, and I have second thoughts. I'm going to do the video. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have two videos coming up very soon that I think a lot of you are going to be very happy to see, because for those of you who have been waiting for more videos on Spellwork and other kind of things like that, stay tuned, because that's happening. It's just not happening today. I could say it is because I am very, very busy here, I'm going through a lot of odds and ends, little things that have to be attended to in my kitchen with some canning chores and some things, which I'm going to get to in a few minutes which I'm doing. But to be honest, I've been a little hesitant in posting many videos on Spellwork, etc., because I think there are some people that will get all excited seeing me do something with Spellwork and just jump into something without being prepared. And I realize that it's not my job. I'm not the police of the spell. I'm not. I'm nobody's mother here on YouTube that I know of. Not the boss of you. Each of you have your own practices, your own consciousness, etc. But I get a little nervous when I do things like binding or something. I'm very careful. I don't want to seem like it is something I do every day, because it's not. Oh my goodness, if I started binding everybody that bugged me, there wouldn't be anybody able to do anything out there. Everybody would be just like, you know, because I get bugged pretty easily. I also do spells willy-nilly, just willy-nilly spells. I get people all the time who are ill, people who all the time are, you know, down in their luck or whatever, experiencing hard times, those kind of things, love sick. And as a witch, it's tempting sometimes to say, well, let me do a spell, let me do a spell, let me do a spell. But, you know, I do a lot of spells, but that's not my first go-to. My first go-to is not jumping in and doing a spell, and yours should not be either. Because in order to do a spell, there are certain steps, no matter what your practice is, that you really need to do when performing a spell to take care of that you're going to have good results. Okay? We have a society today that is really very much into instant gratification. We want to see instant results. Right? We want to drink some tea and lose 10 pounds without getting up out of our chair. That's what we do. Right? We want to take a magic pill. Right? We want somebody to pay for hurting us, so we want to give them a zap. Give them a zap. That's a knee-jerk reaction, and witches should not practice knee-jerk reactions. There are a lot of things that need to take place. So I'm going to be doing a spell. A video. I had a viewer who was very thoughtful and asked me 3 or 4 questions, very thoughtful questions, sincere questions that I will be answering in this video that I'm coming up, not today, but probably I'll try to get to the video over the weekend or the beginning of next week. I'll try to, because I am doing a lot of things in my garden. It's a busy time for me. But I realize that this is important information that you want me to pass on to you, and I will answer your questions to my best of my ability. I think you know who you are if you're watching. But I want to do this video first. I want everybody to watch this video first, if you will, because I don't want a spell to ever be your first go-to reaction. I don't do that. If somebody I know is ill, you know, chronically ill, there's a lot of things I will do first. I might, you know, suggest, if it's a friend, maybe, help them out. Like my daughter, my daughter gets sinus headaches. So of course I pass along some of my nasturtium tincture to her. I will do something like that, something that I think might help her. It won't harm her, I don't think. It's a very short-term cure, perhaps, or a very short-term kind of source of relief for her, okay? If she's really having some difficulty with her headaches, with whatever, I might then add her to my healing altar. The names of people that I would put on my healing altar, where I might light candle and say special intentions, prayers, if you want to call them prayers, give offerings, small offerings for those of people that I care about, that I want to alleviate some of their suffering if I can, through my intentions. Okay, that's kind of a spell, but it's not a spell. It's something I have ongoing in my home, where I have this healing altar. I have an ongoing prosperity altar going in my home, where I will, from time to time, recharge, so to speak, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next video when we talk about charging a spell. But I'll renew the energy in my intention when I build that altar. That's what I will be doing. And I will maybe, add some more offerings to the altar in the form of small change, etc., that I wish to. Maybe incense, maybe, those kind of things. But it's not a spell per se, because it's a gradual adding, tending to an intention. For me, when I talk about spell work, casting a spell of healing, something like that is really a last resort. Not a last resort, but it's a big whammy that puts a lot of influence into a short period of time, where I will take special care to make sure I have special, my area is cleansed, that I have protection up, that I have maybe special candles, maybe special color candles, maybe special oil that I put on the candles, maybe special herbs that I blend to rub on the candle as well, or maybe that I burn as an incense. I'll take time to make sure that my intention that I speak is very clear. I maybe use additional candles or some kind of additional surrounds in the forms of maybe crystals, or maybe silver or gold cording, or black cording, or whatever, depending on what I want to do, to increase the potency of my spell. And that is something that I perform in a period of time, raising a lot of energy, focus, attention. I'm not doing anything else. I'm not going about my day. I'm spending time doing a spell. Okay? Do you see the difference? There's a lot of steps you can take before. When I do my spell video coming up, like I was saying, I will also then say, what do you do then? How often do I need to do that? I will talk about how maybe I will feed the spell, how maybe I will recharge a spell. Those kind of terminologies that I use when I'm speaking to you about spell work, that maybe I'm not very clear on what I mean, I will be talking about that then. Okay? But I just want you to understand there's a lot of steps and there's a lot of things you can do in the middle, but you have to be patient. It's about patience, and it's about waiting for the time to be right to do what. What do you do, and when do you do it? That's really a key. Okay? I thought about this because I also have my cue coming up. I'm going to do a very pretty explicit, if I can, video on, very thorough, I want to say, thorough video on poppets, because I know a lot of people are interested in poppets. I've done some different kinds of poppets with you in the past that you've seen me use. Poppets are used for so many things, and there's a lot of questions which comes up about, like, what is a poppet, and when do we use it, why do we use it, where, how do we use it? Okay, so I'm going to be having a separate video then on that subject. But the reason I'm bringing that up today is it's sort of tied into the same thing. Yesterday I sent out an order for some viewer who had ordered some daughter, quite a good bit of daughter from me, and also a poppet. And I was thinking, well, there's some kind of an intention here. It's pretty clear what maybe the intention might be. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but Of course, it was pretty obvious, to me at least. I thought it was pretty obvious what kind of intention the person had, and I was very careful. I wanted to make sure I included something in the box special for this person, to make sure. I just want to give them a little boost to make sure that they're protecting themselves, that they're going to be protected or protecting others or whatever through because these are very potent. Daughters are very, you've heard me say, to me at least, a very potent herb to use. And it's not to be used lightly. It's to be used as a last resort, or as a, so, and also not to be used alone. You need to have precautions when you do things like this. Okay. So really, it's all about having the patience. I've talked a couple of times in videos in the past about having patience in your work, having patience in your magic, having patience if you're learning to read tarot cards. You need to. I'm teaching now another session on tarot. I may be driving people crazy because I want them to slow down. I want them to, not skip some steps. There's some steps we don't want to skip. We can't just open a deck of cards and look at the little white book and know how to read tarot. It's not quite so simple. It's not something that everybody can learn. You can learn how to do it, but to learn how to do it well, you need to follow certain steps. And that's what I teach my class. It was very timely of this. This subject was timely to me today because I'm following up, and I thought I would just jump on here and show you what I'm doing on some of the things that I've been trying to do. Some things I was trying to do since September, which we'll get to in a minute, and it's now, nearly April. And I'm taking the time right now to do it because my garden is up and running. I've got, I don't know how many cabbages out there ready to harvest and come in. I've got to start doing the sauerkraut, and I've got to get that stuff out. My broccoli, we've been going through the broccoli. You've seen me do that. I need to get them out of the garden soon because my tomatoes are in the process of hardening off. Every day they go out for an increased amount of time, first in the shade, then in the sun. And I think tomorrow is the day that I've determined the first batch of them anyway, of seedlings that I've been hardening off, are going to be spending the night and all time. It's like get up and get out kind of a system here with my seedlings. Once they're ready, they're going to go out there and they're going to spend the night outside before they then never go into the ground. It's little steps that I'm taking to assure that my tomatoes, who have been pampered in a warm room, under warm, nice lights, and pampered by me, are going to be ready and going to grow strong when they go into the garden. Steps that we must take as a gardener, steps that we must take as a witch. Here I'm taking steps in my kitchen. You might remember a couple weeks ago I used my nasturtiums and I did 2 jars. And this jar is one that I added vodka. What did I do? Vodka, it was just like I used about a cup of flowers, I think, and filled it up with vodka, I think. Anyway, and look at the pretty color. I don't know if you can see the pretty color. It's so nice, and it's really orange. And it's lovely, and it smells. Let me take the lid off. Whoa. Well, it still smells like vodka, but it's a sweeter orange. Really lovely flavor. I lovely odor. And oh yeah, it has a nice little aftertaste. But it's not ready to go. It's not going to be ready to go until it says shake daily and then strain after the 31st. After the 31st. And what is this? 25th or something. Okay, so not quite ready today. So that's going to go back on my counter behind me and wait. But also when I did that, I had some nasturtium flowers, blossoms. I had 2 cups that I packed, and a couple cloves of garlic, and some small dried chilies. I think I used these serranos. And I think this is a mixture. I think there's serranos and some Manaheims in here, I think it says. It might have been another jar that is just serranos. Or it might have been a jar. I have some mixtures, which are serranos, jalapenos. It was assortment. It was assortment of chilies, which I usually use for my hot sauces. And anyway, that was working. It was supposed to go for a couple weeks. I left it till yesterday. I left it longer than I needed to. And then what I did, instead of straining that, I dumped the whole jar, blossoms, garlic, chilies, seeds, everything all at once into my super blender back here. And I gave it a whiz, as Jamie Oliver will say. And I got it nice and smooth, as smooth as I could. And then I poured it through a fine mesh strainer to get most of the seeds. And it came out beautiful. Oh my goodness. The color, I don't know if you can tell the color. It's a lovely shade of brown. This is separated a little bit since yesterday it's been sitting. But before use, you would just shake it. But I got 1, 2, and almost 3, nearly 3 bottles of this to use. And I have to say, I can't wait to use this. You know, as I was putting it into the bottles, we put a little taste, we got a little taste of it, and it's very, I want to describe it as almost a little fruity taste. A hot sauce, it's not fruity, but it's not flowery like you would think it to be, like flowers. It doesn't taste like flowers. It tastes, just a lovely, my husband went crazy for it. So I'll be real excited to eat this on something. And if it's delicious, I'm going to be drying up these blossoms and using my blossoms towards this, I think, from this year's crop that I'm getting now. But anyway, these things took time. You have to wait till it's ready. This vodka, it looks pretty, but it's not quite ready. I want to get it to the actual potency where it's going to give me the best product. Okay. I also am enjoying, we had a lot of mustard. We had a lot of mustard in this family. I use mustard. We eat mustard on sandwiches or on, hot dogs or burgers. I use it in deviled eggs or on potato salad or macaroni salad, or I put it on a ham, or like when I roast a ham or whatever, bake a ham. We use mustard in so many things, dressings, salad dressings, vinaigrettes, different things. So I always have jars and jars of mustard that I make. Well, I'm down to like hardly anything of mustard in there in my storage. So I was determined to make mustard, and I'm making 4 different kinds of mustard. And I have them all separated. This is just a very simple brown mustard. And what I did this yesterday. This I have in here: brown mustard seeds, yellow mustard seeds, water, apple cider vinegar, and some, I use pink Himalayan salt, but you can use any kind in there. And I just am soaking it so that the mustard seeds can swell a little bit. And now it's ready, and I'm going to today put it in the blender, get it all blended up really nice and smooth, or the food processor maybe I might use, I'm not sure. Or I can use my immersion blender. Any of those things will work. And I'm just going to process it, and then I'm going to can this. I have back here lined up behind me. You see canners coming out of my ears. I don't think you can see the stove back here, but I have my water bath canner back on the stove, because this is going to be, my mustard is, I can preserve that through water bath canning. Where I have my 2 pressure canners up here for other things. But so this is going to go in the water bath canner. Just a plain brown mustard, and that's ready to do today. But yes, of course, this one I did yesterday as well. But this is going to be a Dijon mustard. And this has been soaking in my mustard seeds and some white wine and white wine vinegar, a little bit of onion, a little bit of garlic. I made a brine out of that with water. And then I strained all of that out, so it was just the liquid from that, with the mustard seeds, some garlic powder, some salt, and some dry mustard powder. And it's a pretty thick substance. It has, the mustard seeds have swollen. The mustard powder has absorbed a lot of liquid, but the seeds are still in there, and I'm going to get it a little bit finer. I wanted to get more of the flavor from the, all the seeds absorb the flavor of the garlic and the wine, etc. And then this is going to be, I think about tomorrow, that's day and a half is good. I will be blending this up, and then this, of course, will be canned and be ready to eat. No, it won't. Because if you've ever made mustard, no, it is not ready to eat when you're finished processing it. Then you have to let it mellow. You have to let it mellow. It's very, very sharp in the beginning when you make it. So another reason to make it way ahead of when you need it. It takes maybe 2 weeks of waiting, up to 4 weeks of waiting to get a really proper, lovely taste of that mustard. So it's still not going to be ready. It still has those steps. Okay, but so I got to get that. This will be today. The brown mustard will be today. The Dijon mustard I will be finishing up tomorrow. And then I'm also going to be doing a honey mustard, honey turmeric mustard. And I'm going to be doing a beer mustard for Oktoberfest. It's an Oktoberfest beer mustard flavor, which is made with dark beer and some mustard and some malt vinegar. That's a malt vinegar that I use. And a little bit of brown sugar, and it's going to be really good. Okay, so 4 kinds all together, and I'll share them if I can think about it when they're finished to show you what that looked like. But that's going to go in the, that's all going in my cupboards. And when I'm also going to be making some more hot sauce. I have the nasturtium hot sauce, but then I normally always have an all-purpose red hot sauce and an all-purpose green. I say all-purpose, it's just generic red and generic green that we have all the time, and I have none. I use the very end of the last of the red, I think yesterday or the day before. And what was I making? I'm not sure what I was making. And what was I making? What was I making? Oh, yes, I do know. I was making macaroni and cheese, and I put some hot sauce in my macaroni and cheese when I make it. And that was the very end of my red hot sauce. The green's been gone a while. So I have to make some new, and instead of using fresh, I don't have enough red. I didn't have enough. Remember a while ago I said I picked some these chilies, the end of my chilies from last summer. I just took them off the bush a couple weeks ago or a month ago or so. And I just leave them lying around in jars, and then they dry out. I mean in bowls. I just leave them in bowls and leave them around my house. And when they dry out, nice and dry, I will store them in jars like this, which then I use for hot sauce or, well, in this case, I'm going to use them for hot sauce. But I also use these for, I will crush these, just crush them to make, like red pepper flakes, you know, excuse me. Excuse me. I will crush to make red pepper flakes, or I will grind up to make chili powder. Or I will use them in hot sauce, something like that. So what I'm going to have to do to these is I'm going to use some, I think, from my jar, and I'm going to, they have to be, there's steps to it. I can't just give it a whiz. These are dry. These have to be treated. So I will, if they were fresh, I would have to cook them a little bit first. But they're not. They're dry, so I have to reconstitute them. And I can either do that with just water, or I can, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in a dry skillet and soften them a little bit in a dry skillet by heating them up. And then I'm going to combine them with some vinegar and, what am I going to do? Vinegar and water and garlic powder and some salt, and I'm going to cook that, and get it nice and cooked, you know, nice and soft and cooked, and then I will process that. And the same as I did with this, I will put it through a strainer just to get the seeds and stuff out. Okay, so there's still steps. I have to do different steps to get things where I want them. I just want to show you the different chilies. You know, it depends on the size. Like here's a nice big one. I think this is maybe a poblano, but it's still, I don't know if you can see it, but it's nice. It's dry, it's shriveling, but it's very, oh, this might have been jalapeno. I know, it's very, it's still very soft. There's a lot of moisture left in that. Where some of them are nearly dry. This one is nearly dry. This one is actually really dry. So you can see some of the other ones, the Fresnos and stuff, they shrivel up to the tiniest little, but it's still good. It's still perfectly usable, and this is a really good use for it, using them as dried, because you just put them together and you weigh it, or you measure it in your cup or whatever. You know, and the thing about making stuff like hot sauce, if it's not thick enough, I mean, you just add the water that you need to use, the liquid, to get it to the consistency you want. Some people like it real thin, like a Tabasco is usually real thin. I like it a little bit thicker, because I like to just pour it out of these bottles, which, by the way, this is the kind of bottles we always use, because I buy wine vinegar. We keep wine vinegar here on the table here, because our salads, our everyday salad is a wine vinegar and olive oil top. That's the dressing. Really fancy. So I always I buy the wine vinegar in this size bottle, which stays on my table. And then we save these bottles, which are perfect size for hot sauce. And I put my hot sauces in here. Okay, well, that's really all I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to get to work. The first thing I'm going to do is get my water bath canner turned on, and I'm going to blend up this mustard and get it in the canner, so maybe I'll be able to share that. I'll come back maybe when I'm done and show you what that looks like. And then I'm going to get some chili softening on the stove to do some hot sauce. As far as these things go, vodka goes back on the counter, and so this mustard, this Dijon mustard blend, goes back on the counter till tomorrow, until the time is right. Okay, let me get some work done. It took me a few days to get back and show you what I've accomplished. Not that it took me that long, actually, but I had to wait. My food processor died in the middle of one of my mustards, so I had to order a new one on Amazon. Of course, it was on the porch just the next day, but it put me a little bit behind. But I wanted to show you what I got here for my work, so that you see. I got all told 7 bottles of the hot sauce. You can see in here. That's both the nasturtium and the other. I have that. I have in the back here. I'll try to get to it and show you. There it is. A beautiful pickled coleslaw. It looks really red in the jar. But this is actually a combination of red and green cabbage, purple and green, actually, cabbage, mostly green, and some carrot, a little bit of carrot, pickled. This is the green. It's showing up really here as red, but you can still see the green where I am. But I have, 5 jars of that. And then I believe I have 17 jars. 17 jars of mustard. 4 different kinds of mustard. Here's my brown mustard. Right there, basic brown. Here's the honey turmeric. Here, Dijon. There's the Dijon behind it. And this beautiful mustard here on the front is actually the beer mustard, the Oktoberfest beer mustard, which I can't wait to taste. I have 3 jars of the mustard that I did not can, I did not process. Boy, I don't know how people film without holding it in their hand, because I really can't do this. But anyway, I have 3 jars of 3 different kinds of mustard. There's the beer, the Dijon, and the brown that I did not put in the processor. It wasn't quite a full jar. It was close to full. But this is going to go, after 4 or 5 days on the counter, to mellow a little bit. It's going to go in the refrigerator. Still not be eaten. The mustards won't be eaten for about a month. Gonna let them go about a month before I dive into them. So I hope my mustards that I have in my storage, that I haven't been using right now, I hope I can make that last until this is ready to use, because I don't want to have to go buy mustard. That'd be terrible. Anyway, I could use this. It's usable after 4 or 5 days. It's just very, very sharp. And why waste it? You know, again, wait till it's at its peak. If you eat it too soon, you're missing out on the benefits of having fresh homemade mustard. So, anyway, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon. I wish you blessings.